So what was your first mission like?
We just get out on a helo and we insert in the middle of nowhere and just start going after it.
Yeah.
Just start going after it. I actually ended up falling down into a really deep hole, and I got pulled out, but for a day. But then I got sent back, so it worked out. But
Yeah.
it was pretty gnarly. Like we were like moving and taking fire, and like ended up falling down it's called a Wadi Canal. It's their waterway system, and I got my bell rung hard. Like I had a bunch of ammo on me too that like knocked me down, and it was like in a sling,
Mm-hmm.
and just like my, just trying to move, and the ground there's so soft, I just melted like butter and just fell down the hole. Came back and okay, looked at. They were like, "Oh, he's good. He's gonna push back out," and I pushed back out with the rest of the platoon, and we just started at that time. What was like we would land in the town and then like push out to like the edge of the city, and then we would set up positions and then begin security patrols. And so you wouldn't really see much like in the initial assault phase, right? Because the enemy doesn't know what you're doing. You don't know where they are. You don't know anything about the battle space. You have no real situational awareness, no orientation, and then you're waiting. But as soon as we would stop moving, they would just start lighting us up. And
Yeah.
it was pretty rough. It was pretty rough there for a while, but like we set up a position and we had like two different buildings, and every time you would go to the other building, like rounds would start skipping across the ground, and you're like, whoa, like you just
Right.
it's like, what are we doing? And then you start shooting back, and then like it just starts happening. And
What was your first moment of this is real?
This is real. Let me think about it. Everything else hadn't really, Toby Keith, the air raid sirens, all those things had been like, okay, it still felt fun. But like, my first fire, the first time I like remember like actively engaging a guy is me and my friend Chicky Chop. We were like behind a wall. And my squad leader, Ryan, told me, he's like, if you hear a crack, that's good. If you hear a whiz, that's bad. He's like, crack is here, whiz is here. And I was like, okay. And sounds like you have no point of reference. And he had been, on multiple deployments at that point. And we're like looking at this guy, and like you see this dude, and I see his like blue door. And I was like, what's this happening? This guy like pokes his head out. I'm like, okay, what are you doing? And then like he pokes his head out and he starts shooting at us. And I remember I was like, crack is bad, whiz is worse. And I felt the dust like of it hitting the wall behind me. And I was like, oh my God. And he's like, shoot back, idiots. And I was just like, okay, oh yeah. Like, cause like you have no context until that point. And so we did. And that was like the actual like real first time that someone shot at me and I shot at them.
Nice.
Yeah.
So how long was your first deployment?
It's 7 months of just that. I mean, at that time it got easier as time went on. I mean, there were a few like touch and go moments. I was behind a wall when an RPG hit it. We didn't know how bad that would be. That was like, and that was right after I just got my knocked out like a week before. So it was like my second concussion in like a week.
Right.
And that was pretty gnarly, but we ended up holding that position for 24 hours. And then eventually the town just kind of settled. Like they just kind of went about their business. We went about ours. And it was what I would call like a really good first deployment, because with a MU, you have all these assets of like artillery and air. Those are always there, but those are like regionally supporting multiple different units, different the Army, Marine Corps, any of it throughout an entire battle space. But these were attached directly to us. So like something happened, we called in air, we called in artillery, whatever.
You sat there for 24 hours?
At one place, yeah, we would hold places.
But like against a wall that had just been hit by an RPG, like it's just like,
Yeah.
were you just kind of stranded, or was it just like, no, we're here, we could leave when we
So
want?
we were rearranging the battles. I'll tell the story better. I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's all right. It just sounds interesting.
So when we pushed out to the assault, the company commander then looked at our area of operations called the AO, and he decided where to move each platoon based upon whatever ideas he had. And so he moved our platoon from one part of the battle space to another. And while we were doing that, we had to hold this position for 24 hours. And we got there, the platoon that was there was like, hey, you look across that field, you see that door, that's a bad door, don't go there. Like they were trying to bait us out, and we didn't know this at the time, but they were trying to bait us into an ambush because they had two machine gun bunkers lined up right behind each other, and we couldn't see it from where we were. But if we just hit that field just slightly, it would have mowed us in half.
Wow.
And so, like, okay. And so we're there, and the guy comes out, and he's like looking, what's going on? You're like, okay, you can't just shoot a guy for looking.
Right.
And that's weird. And then he stepped out, and he got out of the doorway and like just the side of the building. I remember he flipped his. I didn't know what it was in the moment, but I was like, what is he putting on his shoulder? And then like you're building this in real time. You're like, oh my God, it's a rocket launcher.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And then, because all rounds have an arc to them.
Mm-hmm.
So it cut across the field. And I just remember being like, it's just like the video game. Like as the smoke trail came out, and then my squad leader Ryan grabbed me, and we pulled down behind this wall, and we didn't know it at the time, but those dirt walls are nigh indestructible. But it hit it, and then it just...
They're not indestructible?
Oh, they're almost indestructible.
Gotcha.
Because they make the bricks, and they cover it up, and it didn't really even have any give to it. But we didn't know that. But at the time, he didn't know that either. But at the time, he put his body in front of mine and didn't even think twice about it.
Wow.
And so he like grabbed me, and like I remember he like grabbed me down because he knew what it was, and like pulled me down. And then like we got blown back, and then it was literally... I don't want to swear. It literally started raining manure everywhere.
Yeah.
Too, because the explosion had also hit a big pile of manure that they were using for like they would put on their roofs and stuff, or also for fires, and so it had liquefied that. So it's like raining manure, and then like I'm sitting there and I'm like throwing up, and he's like, "Get up!" Everyone's like, "Get up!" And so I get up and I'm like throwing up, and I put my gun over the wall. And I'm just like shooting. I'm like, I think he's there, And we're all shooting at him, and then we stayed there for the whole day. And my corpsman, which is our medic, the Marine Corps has a Navy corpsman as Doc's. And Doc comes up to me, and he looks at me and goes, "Bell, are you okay?" And I go, "Yeah, I'm good." And he goes, "Don't fall asleep. You'll die." And I was like, okay, bang, bang. And so we held it for a day.
Dang.
Yeah. But after that, everything got like better. Like,
yeah,
most deployments, they like build up to chaos. That one was just like early onset, but we established like really good dominance of the battle space early on. And like they knew if they came close, like there's going to be an airstrike, there's going to be artillery, there's going to be something like that.
Yeah.
And so everything else was pretty chill after that.